Thank you very much for inviting me here today to talk to you all. So we're here today to look at using Moodle as an online distance learning platform. So my presentation today will have three parts. We'll begin by looking at what a Mooc is and the two main types of Moocs, because some of you may not be familiar with the Mooc terminology. We'll then have a go at setting up a brand new Moodle site for you. So everybody will have their own unique Moodle site that you can play with, test, break, see what works, see what doesn't work. And then the final part of it will be looking at some do's and don'ts of running a Mooc. So we're going to, those are going to be the three main areas that we will look at in the presentation today. So I've been involved with Moodle for quite a few years. 2004 was when I got involved with the software. Setting it up for schools in England. I moved to Malaysia around about 9 years ago, where I set up Moodle for a school here, and then for the last 5 years I've been working for this company, Pukunui, and we look after the e-learning site here at IMU. My details are there if anybody wants to contact me. I'm on Twitter, my email, etc., etc. My background's teaching, so I was a high school teacher and school leader for around about 16 years. The thing that I always try to do in my presentations is make it very clear what the learning outcomes are. So by the end of this presentation, by the end of this session today, I've got two main learning outcomes. I want you to have created an e-learning website, and I want you to be able to understand just some of the considerations when you're running a Mooc. And I'm not talking really about all the server side and hardware configurations and all that kind of thing. It's more the educational perspective. Okay, so quick introduction. What is a Mooc? So there's two main types of Moocs that you may have heard this terminology, you may have participated in some Moocs. So generally Mooc stands for Massive Open Online Course. There's two main types. You've got the XMOOC and the CMOOC. The CMOOC is, it focuses a lot more on community and is a lot more flexible. The XMOOC is much more of a traditional style of teaching, where the content is there and you're the teacher at the front presenting it and everybody goes away and learns it. So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into those two different types of Mooc. So the CMOOC is all about community. It revolves around the connectivism theories of learning. And it's all about networking with other individuals. Normally there will be one particular portal, but it doesn't necessarily stick to that one particular portal. There will be learning happening throughout the portal and other connected sites, social media, blogs, wiki, all of that kind of thing. And the idea is that it's a community thing and that all of the users on the system are acting both as teachers and learners. The other style of Mooc, the XMOOC, as I said, it's more like the traditional classroom structure, where you've got lots of things like pre-recorded videos. All of the content is just put on the course, and there's some automated quizzes, tests, assessments, that kind of thing. It's a very teacher-centered way to run online distance learning. There's no rights and no wrongs. Depending on your subject, depending on your material, depending on your course, you may choose one style over the other. And most MOOCs will probably be somewhere in the middle of that continuum, where you've got the very traditional structured learning on one end of it, and you've got the community-based learning on the other. So that's just a very quick overview about the two different styles of MOOCs that you may see around, that you may see other universities running. Dr. George Siemens summed it up quite succinctly, where you've got CMOOCs that focus on knowledge creation and generation, whereas XMOOCs focus on knowledge duplication. Okay, so when you're setting up your online distance learning courses, I've tried to capture a few of the most important things for you to think about, and I tried to just phrase them as questions. So hopefully while I'm doing this next part of the presentation, it's just going to spark off some ideas in your mind and things that you think, oh yeah, I hadn't quite thought of that. I might need to make a note of that and revisit it when I'm creating and designing my courses. So there's about 9 different areas that I'm going to just flag for your consideration when you're making these courses. Right from the beginning, obviously you need to target your users' needs. So somehow you need to find out or think about what your audience is going to be, whether they're going to find that topic appealing. How are you going to decide on the topic areas that you're going to present on your online course? You could spend hours and hours and hours and make the most amazing course, but if you've got no users that actually want to go there and access it, it's not going to take off and be successful. I guess a lot of you are probably thinking, you've already got, your audience is already captured. You've probably got students either here, in other countries, and they are going to get told at some point that they have to access this course. So the audience part of it might not be so important to you, but if you're creating an open course that anybody can go to, that anybody can sign up for, then you certainly need to address some of these questions here. And back to the teaching methodology, you know, right from the beginning, what are you going to expect your learners to get out of your course? So the first bit was about targeting the audience, targeting the users. The second bit, most successful online courses are run by teams, so not individuals. So have a think about who you can collaborate with, whether it's somebody else in the university here or somebody in a different country. You could invite guest speakers onto your course to talk about certain aspects, or have pre-recorded videos, or interview people remotely. All the technology is there. It's very easy to do these days, especially with things like Skype and Bigbluebutton. You don't have to be in the same location. You can be anywhere in the world. We run an online conference called the IMU, and it kind of works like a MOOC, but it's more focused on a short 3-4 day period where we've got lots of live presentations from people in literally 30 different countries, all accessing the one platform, all presenting live. So the technology is there, it's very easy to do, and we'll look in the last part of the session this afternoon how you can actually do that. Okay, number 1 rule of presenting, make sure your audience can read your slides. It's a much smaller screen than I expected. So apologies for the tiny text here. I'll break that down a little bit and go through some of the points because obviously you can't see it. When you're designing your courses, obviously content is a very, very important thing. Not necessarily the most important, but good content is going to drive your users to the course, it's going to spark those discussions, and it's going to help them with the learning. Depending whether it's more towards that XMOOC side of the continuum or if it's more CMOOC, then you might have to adjust your content. The community courses, the ones that focus much more on collaboration, it might not be you, the lecturers, producing that content. It might be your users, your students going to the site, producing that content. All of the content may just begin to evolve over time through wikis that they can all edit or forums that they can all post and discuss on. So where you've got, if you're thinking more of that XMOOC style of open course, then you try to make your content interesting. But if it's more over the other side, if it's the CMOOC style, then you need to think more of collaboration spaces, and I'll talk about that after this one. So think about how long your MOOC will run for. Typically, most online courses run for between 4 to 8 weeks, and would maybe expect the users to put in about 2 or 3 hours per week work on that. So maybe 20 hours, 30 hours of learning, that kind of amount. There's lots of research that shows anything more than that, it just tails off and people become uninterested, and the failure rates on these courses, or the failure to complete the course rate, just increases. Assessments. Are you going to have any assessments on your course? Do you need assessments on your course? If you are going to have assessments, how are you going to manage them? If you ask 2,000 people on your course to write an essay, are you going to be the one that checks them and marks them and gives them some grades? So, and again, it depends how your courses are going to scale, but you do need to think about all of these things right at the beginning. Obviously, if you're going to have assessments, then automated assessments are the way to go, multiple choice, fill in the gaps, drag and drop activities, all of that kind of thing. So your users can get some immediate feedback on their learning, and you don't have to do any marking. It makes it easy. Peer feedback, how will you include that in your MOOCs? I think whether it's that XMOOC style or the CMOOC style, either way, both of them need some kind of peer feedback within the system. So how are the peers going to discuss their learning? How are they going to maybe assess each other's work? And within Moodle, there's some tools that allow for that. One of the most popular tools for peer feedback within Moodle is called the Workshop activity. We probably won't have time to go through that now, but it's something that you could make a note of and have a look at a later date. So if you want to get aspects of peer assessment onto your course, definitely have a look at the workshop activity within the LMS. And just to make it absolutely clear, we're going to set up a Moodle site today, and it will be very, very similar to your e-learning site that you have here at IMU. They both run the same software, so most of what you do in the one today, you'll be able to replicate on your IMU site if you want to. How will you make sure that your content is accessible? So, how are you going to make sure that it will be accessible to people with maybe sight impairments of different types? All of that, when you're moving things online, you've got to consider all of that. Don't assume that everybody has got perfect vision. If you're doing diagrams, make sure that you can adapt them for people that might be colorblind or need high contrast, all of that kind of thing. And that also ties in with the look and the design of the learning site, which will probably be a little bit out of your control because you're just putting the content on. But there's some international standards, especially for people with impairments. You can just Google WCAG is the standards, and there's lots of tests that you can run your site through to see if it's okay for instance, people that use screen readers. Lots of people access the internet by having a screen reader read out all of the text on the page and things like that. And also presenting the content in different ways. If you're putting up a video, then have a transcription of it as well. Again, just so different users can access the material in different ways. Make sure that you've got interesting content on there. So multimedia is fantastic, and also simulations, all of that kind of thing, just to really engage the users. Think about areas on your course that are going to be for collaboration. How are you going to get your users working on things together? And how are you going to present all of the content to your users? Is it going to be just a big one hit where they go to your course and they've got a mountain of text to look through with links and things like that? Or are you going to work out a way to release it bit by bit, week by week, as the course progresses? And again, all of those tools are built into the software. Lastly, the last little bit while I'm talking about content, do consider legalities, because if you're having an open course, it's going to be public, it will be out there. If you're letting anybody access it, do you need to think about copyright? Where did you get the images for your presentations? Where did you get the materials that you're putting online? Did you borrow them from a different university or something? But it's worth considering. And then also ownership. Are you producing this for you? Are you producing it for IMU? Who is the actual end owner of the products? It's just things that you need to kind of think about when you're designing big open courses. Okay, the next thing for your consideration is about user interactions. So within the system, which users do you want interacting with each other? And how will you organize those spaces? So if you're working on it with other teachers, then you'll need some kind of area for teachers to discuss things. You would need some sort of facility maybe for teachers to communicate with the students, either individually or en masse. You possibly will want areas for student interaction. So that's things like forums and chat rooms and discussion groups and all of that kind of thing. Do you want students to be able to have direct messaging, to be able to find somebody on the course and then message them directly? You might want to, you might not want to. Do you want any kind of facility for the students to be able to contact you? And I guess the answer to that is it depends how many students. Again, if you've got 15,000 students on your course, you probably don't want them to contact you. But if it's a much smaller, manageable group, then there's no reason why you wouldn't. And then think, how are you going to or if you're going to break down your users into any smaller groups, are you going to group them together in particular ways? Are you just going to have it as one great big group and anybody's there? Or if it's a MOOC that has a kind of, I'm going to call it rolling enrollment, so there's no particular start or end date, they can just join, and then once they've done the 4 weeks, then they've completed it. If you're going to have that kind of rolling, continuous style of MOOC, how are you going to manage the kind of the regular intakes? And these are all questions that I'm giving you just to try to get you thinking about all of this. But and I've got answers for a lot of them. So when we're on the last part of this, when I'm going to get you to start playing and making stuff, then just please stop me and ask me questions and things like that. You know, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I want to do this, how do I do this? If I don't answer it towards the end, then do ask. Okay, so spaces and activities for interaction. So you decided what kind of interactions you're going to have on your course. The next thing is to actually facilitate that, to build some kind of space where these different users can interact. So we've got two main types of interactions. You might have heard these terms, you might not have. We've got synchronous and asynchronous. So asynchronous is basically not live. It's something on the site that people can access at any time depending on what time zone they're in. So things like forums, chat modules, or actually maybe not so much, chat modules should probably be up in the synchronous, peer workshops, all of that kind of thing. Mostly text-based stuff where users are discussing things online and anybody can come in at a later date and then reply. So typical kind of internet forum. Synchronous interactions, obviously the live stuff. So in Moodle we're going to use an extra tool called Bigbluebutton, which is a little bit like Skype or Google Hangouts or what's the other one? Adobe Connect, where it's basically a virtual classroom. You're going to have a virtual whiteboard that you can upload your presentations to, and you can go through slides and you can talk from it, and your users can join that live webinar. Again, all through the system. Okay, so you've got your users, you've decided how you're going to facilitate all these interactions. And then the last thing is to think about your presence on the course. So if it's that kind of CMOOC style, you're more the guide on the side, you're facilitating it, you're helping the conversations, you're helping the learning, maybe by bringing different groups of people together, by asking interesting questions just to spark things off. Or if it's more that XMOOC style, you're the sage on the stage where it's maybe a pre-recorded video, you're doing a live session just for them to come and see you. And maybe you'll do some more kind of just general monitoring of the site, some kind of general feedback, and that kind of thing. Certainly if you've got automated assessments there, you might be looking at the results of different groups and things like that. So just think about how you're present. Don't just think you're going to make this thing, stick it somewhere and then forget about it and it will all just work. You'll need to be involved in some way. I thought that was the last one. One more. How are you going to get your users to be able to display their learning? So when we talk about learner-curated artifacts, so an artifact could be some kind of piece of knowledge that they're displaying somehow. Are you going to get them, I used the example earlier about uploading an essay, you probably wouldn't use that, but you may have some kind of assessments, you may organise some spaces where they can write some blogs and things like that. They don't necessarily need to display that learning, that understanding to you unless it's part of some official assessment. But certainly you'll want to have ways on your course for your learners to be able to display to either you or to each other what they've learned from it. And this is lastly, get it out there. So once you've built your course, promote it, put it on social media, advertise it, tell your colleagues about it, email lists, all of that kind of thing. Again, because it's no good having this amazing course if people don't know about it, especially if it's these open ones that you're going to let anybody in the world join and learn from. Okay. One more. And then think about how you're going to add in some bits for feedback, and so you can make a better iteration of your site for next time. So peer feedback, so that can be through tools that are in the system, or forms made on Google Forms, things like that. You can create these things and get some feedback so that you can make an improvement of the course. Okay, on to the fun stuff. Perfect. Creating your Moodle site. So we're going to try this. Hopefully it will work. If not, it's going to turn into a bit more of a demonstration, but there's no reason why it won't work. So the lovely people at Moodle decided that they're going to give away hosted Moodle sites for free. There's limitations on them, but for today it's perfect, and it gives you your own, we call it a sandbox to play with. So the URL, hopefully you can all see that from where you are, is Moodle, moodle.com/cloud/free. You can also just go to moodle.com, and then it's under the Moodle Cloud tab there. But it's the free page that we want to land on. So if you're in the right place, you should see a page that looks something like this. And again, this is the one that we're interested in. There should be an orange button for you to click, get started. I'll just show the link back again in case anybody missed it. Yeah, just a second. Yeah, sorry. So on this page, you'll need to just scroll right down. I chopped it off with my. There's a button that says "Get Started" or something like that. I'll just have a quick look around. Yeah, it's a Moodle Cloud. Oh yeah, sorry. Oh, it's gone. Let's try again. A Moodle for free. And then down a little bit further, that one. Are we all good at the back? Okay, so we've gone through this page, and it's the free one that we want, because we like free. So there should be a little dialog that says create new account, and then you'll just need to enter some details. So first name, family name, etc., etc. You'll need to put in a proper mobile phone number. That's for verification, and it will send you, later on in the process, it will send you a little PIN number to put in to verify that you're a real person and not a robot. And make sure when you're filling out the details that you put in the proper time zone, because that's important for the server and the timing of certain activities within the system. So I'm going to pause for just a few minutes while people are doing that. But as I'm walking around, if you're stuck, please shout out. If you need any help, if you're not sure what you're doing. There may be additional levels of security, like a little captcha where they ask you whether what's in this photo and things like that. Again, it's just to try and stop all these automated sign-up procedures.
Yes.
Just choose the site.
How do they answer?
Up to you.
How you intend to use the Moodle cloud?
Yeah, it's not so important. Up to you. Just.
Okay.
So I guess today we're kind of evaluating it or something like that.
Change that use later?
Not sure. That's a good question. So how are we getting on? Well, I can see a few new Moodle sites popping up. It's always nice to see the success. Can I help anybody?
So we have to name ourselves, right? The site name.
Yep, so come up with a name for your site. So it could be whatever you want. I think it's the underscore that it doesn't like.
Oh, hyphen.
Yeah,
Hyphen.
yeah, so yeah, hyphen's fine, but not an underscore. There you go.
We have only 3 places, so we should type ourselves.
Yeah, this is just for the server, so just choose Australia for the server location.
Thank you.
So I choose Australia. Yeah, it's Australia.
Okay, so most of you are going through or have completed the verification process. Those of you that are still going through it, so we're giving the site a name. It can be any unique name as long as somebody else hasn't used it already. Choose the location for hosting it. It will probably be Australia is the closest to us. And then for your use of Moodle Cloud, we're just kind of evaluating it, or whichever use you choose, you feel is right for what you're doing. You then get the verification code on your mobile phone, assuming you put the number in correctly, and then you can put it in there to verify your identity. Then come up with a password. That will be the password that you use to log into the site in the future. So after this session, you can go to that URL that you created, your Moodle site.moodlecloud.com, and put in your password. So don't forget that password. Make sure you make a note of it somewhere. Then it will take you through to a success page, and then we're good to go. So, one thing worth pointing out at some point you'll get logged out of the site that you're on, so make sure you've remembered that URL, make sure you've remembered that password as well. So you can just go to, I called mine Vinny, so mine is vinny.moodlecloud.com, and there's a little link on there that I'll be able to log in. Your username is admin. A-D-M-I-N. The sign-up process doesn't make it clear that that is your username for when you log into the site again. So I thought that was just worth pointing out. So for the site that you have created, you've got your URL, whatever you chose to call it. Your login for the future will be, your username is admin, A-D-M-I-N, and that password that you created.
It's all lowercase, right?
Oh, admin in lowercase, correct, yeah. Your password won't be if you use capitals in it, but yeah. Admin in lowercase. Okay, so you'll have a completely empty new Moodle site, something like that, that we can start playing with, and we can start creating courses, and we can add users, and then open it up to anybody who wants to come and join it. So, I'll talk for a little bit while I think there's one or two people just catching up. Creating your Mooc. So to go back to those points that I listed out for consideration, don't forget, we're targeting our users' needs, building in teams, good content, interactions of our users and spaces for those interactions to happen, how you're going to be involved, your presence, learner-created, curated artifacts, sharing, promoting, and then tools for feedback on your site. So the first thing that we're going to do on our Moodle site is to create a course. Now, there's a huge number of different admin settings, and all of that is in this link here, which I'm going to use to get to a course creation area. But don't worry too much about all of the admin settings. It's set up as standard. For what we're doing, then we won't need to worry. And you certainly, you've got a good team here that are managing all the admin settings for the IMU eLearn, so you certainly won't need to worry about any of that on your other site. So in site administration, I've just clicked that site administration link. I'm going to click on courses. And I'm going to jump into manage courses and categories. So this is an area within the system that will store all of the courses. So I'll take you through that again. I went to site administration, and then I went to courses, and then I'm going to click on manage courses and categories. So this one here, site administration, courses, manage courses and categories. And you'll see in there already that there's an introduction to Moodle course. That's hidden. That's what the little I means there with the line through it. It's hidden, only you can see that. So we're going to, I'm getting tangled up in all my wires. We're going to create a course. Can I get a quick show of hands? Because you've got your eLearn system here. Who has created a Moodle course before? I've got, all the people at the back. Okay, so who teaches currently on a Moodle course on eLearn? Okay, so we've got, this is great, this is all very new for some of you. So we're going to have a go at creating a new course, and you'll see that there's a link there that says create new course. So I'm going to click that. And then I've got some different settings. Now, the system allows you to make as many courses as you want. We're just going to do one quick one today. But if you've got multiple Moocs that you want to run, or different versions of your Mooc, then you could have different versions of your courses on the site. So I'm just going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Vinny's Mooc. And we've got a full name and a short name. The only difference is that that full name can be much longer. The short name, the course is referred to in the system. So if you've got, I don't know, Chemistry 101 Introduction to Atomic Orbitals or something like that, a big long name, and then the course short name might just be Chemistry 101 or something like that. Don't worry about the course category, because there's only one category on your site at the moment. And really, that's pretty much all we need to do at the moment. There's all sorts of different options and things like that that you can change if you want to, and you can always come back and change these at a later date if you want to as well. It'll be handy to have a little description that's shown in the system in different places. So I've just put a description there, a course for my first Mooc. As I said, all of this can be changed at a later date if you want to. So really, I'm going to ignore all of the rest of this and then go down to the bottom, and we'll go Save and Display. So after creating your course, it asks you, who do you want to add to your course? We're not going to do that yet because you haven't got any users in your system. So it's a completely pointless page. You've got one user in the system, which is you, the admin person. So there's nothing to do on this page at the moment. So I'm going to notice up there in the breadcrumb along the top, this is called the breadcrumb. You notice there it's got the short name for my course. I'm going to click onto it. and then I'll just see some topic areas there. So I'm going to pause for a minute and get everybody to the same stage where you've got a course created that looks empty, something like that. Just going to wander around and see where we are. Easy. Good. Excellent. I got the top set today, or the clever ones. Okay, so once you've created that framework, the course for your Mooc, we can start adding content. And there's loads and loads of different tools within Moodle. I'll show it to you and I'll give you a very quick run through of all the different tools. And then we'll have a go at setting up the Bigbluebutton so we can do some video conferencing on our course. So I'm going to turn editing on, which is the gear icon over here. And we've got our drop-down menu, and I'm going to choose Turn Editing On. This top one here, the Edit Settings, that takes you back to the previous page, and you can change the name and description and stuff like that. So Turn Editing On allows you to start to interact with the page a little bit. And you'll notice that it looks a bit different. We've got some direction things here, which means that we can move stuff around. We can edit things, and we can add new activities or resources. And that's going to be the one, these links here, these are going to be the ones that you use 90% of the time while you're setting up your courses. So I'm going to choose Add an Activity or Resource. And we've got a great big list of different things that we can add. So, very quick run through for people that are not at all familiar with Moodle. Assignment allows students to send you essays. Bigbluebutton is the little plugin that we've got which is going to allow web conferencing. Chat gives a real-time live chat window that anybody can type into and communicate. Choice is a simple ask one question and the users pick an answer A, B, C, D, and you see a nice little bar graph. Don't worry about database, that's an advanced one, as is external tool. Feedback allows you to create questionnaires for your users. Good for that last bit where you're getting feedback so you can improve your Mooc for next time. Forum is a simple discussion forum. Make sure you get lots of those onto your courses for discussion of different things. Glossary is what it says, keywords within your course with definitions. Obviously, it's not clever enough to know what they are, you have to type in the definitions. Lesson allows some really neat pathways through content. So with this particular lesson activity, you can create a bit of content and then a question, and then depending on their answer, it'll take them off to a new bit of content. So you can start to create personalized learning and branched pathways and things like that. Quiz, all sorts of different types of quiz questions you can ask. And when you're setting up the quiz questions, if you tell it the answer, then the system will mark it for you. If you're uploading resources into it, so presentations, PowerPoints, Word documents, PDFs, all of that kind of thing, then that's what this section at the bottom is for. So linking to URLs, uploading any kind of files. Moodle's not fussy, you can upload any file to it. Just think whether your users are going to have the bit of software to read that file. So for instance, I'm on a Mac, and if somebody sends me a specific file for a Windows bit of software, then I might not be able to open it, and vice versa. This particular one here, book, allows you to create an online ebook. and that's probably all of them I'll talk about for now. So I'm going to choose Bigbluebutton and go Add. I'm just going to call it Live Session. And then again, I don't need to worry about any of these other settings. You can just leave them as default. Just give it a name. And I'm going to go Save and Display. And that's created your first activity on your course. So back on your course page, we've got a new thing that's appeared here. We've got our Bigbluebutton live session. And I'm going to click it and show you what it looks like. And join session. And it will be communicating with servers over in Canada, I think it is at the moment. Might take a second. Oh, it's working on your one. Fantastic. So, yeah. So when this is called a Bigbluebutton room. When the Bigbluebutton room loads, it will ask if it can use your webcam and your microphone. And so for that, it needs to. I might just refresh that page. It doesn't seem to be doing much. Ah, it's my browser. Here we go. I can hear somebody's got in already. So it will ask if it can use your microphone on your computer and your webcam on your computer. And so you've got your first virtual conference room. Yeah.
Just to ask, is it the flash based?
It is flash based. Yeah. So yeah, if you've got any notifications about Flash, then you'll have to just say, yes, I agree to you using Flash. Maybe it might be your university's network having trouble at the moment. All the students back from lunch or logging into the computers or whatever. I'll show you, let's see if I can bring up a different room just so I can show you what it looks like. There you go. This is much faster. It's exactly the same. This is just a version of the software we've got set up on our server. So let's put the microphone on. Hello. A yes for that.
You are currently the only person
And share my webcam. Allow. Oh, there we go. Let's bring that up. So we've got a webcam here. So it's running off my laptop there. Audio. This is a presentation space that you can upload your slides and materials to. This is a live chat box, so anybody joining can type away to each other. And you can choose from your, obviously if I had other users in the room, there'd be a big list of the different users. You can let them share their webcams if you want them to or not, so you could use it just as direct presentation, or you could use it for conversation and things like that. So you can use it for like a video chat where all your different users will have their video cameras, their webcam, sorry, arranged on one page. Or different presentation styles and things like that. So your slides, you kind of click through in the middle. You can annotate them and all of that kind of thing. So that's pretty cool. And so far, none of it's cost us anything either. So we've got a Moodle website with a video conferencing plugin added. We've built a course. We've added the video conferencing aspect to it. And then after this session today, you can have a play. You can invite your friends to your course. You can use this if you want for meeting online with your family in different countries or whatever you want. It's all completely private for you within your course. So let me just jump back to my presentation. I won't have time at all to run through all of the different activities within Moodle, but just have a play. There's a massive community that revolves around the software. If you Google it's docs.moodle.org, then all of the documentation, how to use the system is there. And as I said, what you're using today is exactly the same as IMU's eLearn. And there's also at moodle.org, there's community forums where you can post questions and get advice from other people and all of that kind of thing. So that was the first bit of setting up your Mooc, is to get some activities, get some content on your course. The next bit, we need to get some users on your site. So you need to have a think about authentication. So I'll show you where that is on your Moodle site. So I'm back on my Moodle site here, and I'm going to go into Site Administration. And I'm going to go to I moved it all recently. I can never find anything. I'm going to have to go to plugins and authentication. Here we go. So I went to Site Administration, Plugins, and then scrolled down to Authentication. And I'm going to click that big one there, Authentication. That's going to give me all the different authentication methods. So, reason why I did that, I wanted to make sure, I wanted to check the settings for this one, email-based self-registration. So, this particular one, the little I is open. That means that it's enabled. So people can register to use your Moodle site. You will start to get a lot of spam on your site. You'll get fake users. They'll often have, email addresses from, I don't know, Eastern Europe or the middle of nowhere. It's often quite easy to see which are the fake users on your site. But that's just something to be aware of. If you are letting anybody sign up and use your site, you will get lots of people trying to use it for spam. Now, there's one other, if you want, when you're ready to release it into the wild, there's one setting here that you need to change, which is the self-registration. So even though this particular plugin is enabled on our site, this one setting here is disabled. So at the moment, nobody can access, nobody can register on your site. I'm going to change that to email-based self-registration, and then I'm going to scroll down to, I'm going to ignore all of this, scroll right down to the bottom and go for Save Changes. So now anybody can go to my site that I created and set up an account and then start using it. But they won't be able to see much, they won't be able to get anywhere on the site. There's other different methods of getting users onto your site. If you want to set people up individually, then in Site Administration, you can click on your users and you can go to Add a New User, which will allow you to create a username and add an email address, and then that person will be able to start using your site. Or there's some functions here for bulk uploading users onto your site. And again, there's all documentation, docs.moodle.org to take you through how to do this. So once you've got your users actually on your site, let's jump back to my, once you've got your users onto your site, then the last bit of the jigsaw is to get them onto the courses. So that authentication that I was just talking about lets your visitors to your site set up accounts, create accounts on your site. It won't give them any access into the courses. So the next bit is this, enrollment onto your courses. And again, there's a million ways to do this. Actually, let me just turn off my, I've still got this one running. There's a load of different ways to do this on Moodle, but I'm just going to show you the simplest way. And that's just to let users enroll themselves onto your courses. So I just click the home button and I can see the available courses. I've got Vinny's Mooc there. I'm going to click into it. And in my settings, where are we? So that was the gear icon on my course. I'm going to click into More. And Users, Enrollment Methods. And I'm going to enable this one here. So I clicked on the little eye at the bottom, it opens, it means that it's live, it can be accessed, self-enrollment. And so all that means is that people can come to the course, and they can enroll themselves and add them onto the course. So there's a number of parts to managing your Mooc. Creating the course, getting the users into the system, and then getting the users onto the course. And you can create passwords and all of that kind of thing that you can share separately with your users if you want to lock it down a little bit. And that kind of brings me to the end of what I was hoping to get across to you guys today. Really, we've just kind of scratched the surface of what we can do with this system. So go away and have a play. Definitely try out all the video conferencing side of it. It works really well. Have a look at some of the different activities. And just explore and just have a play. And then when you're ready, you can either make a proper Mooc on that side and release it to people, or you can kind of copy what you've done, where you can actually do a backup and then restore it to your e-learning courses here at IMU. So any quick questions? I've kind of come to the end of the content part of it. Yes?
So is there any
Okay, good question. Good question. Any way to log out? If you just close the browser, then that will be fine. That will log you out of the system. There's no official way that you don't need to click on any log out buttons and things like that. If it's public computers, even then it doesn't really matter. Once the browser's been closed, it should be fine. Yes.
Can you just show the last thing?
Yeah, sure. I'll put the yeah. So I'll show you how I got to that again. So on my course, I clicked up on the gear at the top there, the gear icon, to go into this menu. I went to More, and then I went into Users, and I went into Enrollment Methods, so that I could check that this one was actually enabled and working. And then if you want to change any settings, you can click on the gear there and then add a password if you want to protect it a little bit. Any other questions?
Just now you have shown the email enrollment and things that
Yeah.
we have missed.
Yeah, okay.
How can we do it?
Yeah, sure. So that was in the site administration, and I went to plugins, and I went to authentication, but there's also a link here to this one, email-based self-registration. So authentication, and I was checking that this was enabled, that people could create their own accounts on the site. And then when I'm ready, I just scrolled down a little bit to the bottom of the table. When I'm ready to let people create accounts, then I change that setting there. And then went all the way to the bottom of the page and hit save. Any other questions? Any questions? Yes?
Are there any restrictions or limitations on Bigbluebutton conference?
Yeah, this uses the. So we're using the free version of the Moodle Cloud at the moment. So that is restricted to 20, 25. Is it 50 now? Okay, so it's restricted to 50 users. The Bigbluebutton, I don't know how many users it's restricted to. I think it might only be 6 for sharing webcams. I'm not sure. But this is really just as a sandbox platform. You can use IMU's proper one, and then you've got no restrictions. Any other questions?
If you are having web conference, how do you send the link for them to come into your...
Okay, the question was for the web conference, how do you share the link with people? It will be there on the Moodle course, or you can copy the link once you're in and email it to people, or just send them the URL of your Moodle course and say, next Monday at 6 p.m, click on this, that kind of thing. Was there a question from the back somewhere? Any questions? Okay, well, I'm going to be hanging around here for a little bit afterwards. So if you do have anything else that you want to ask me, then please come and say hello and talk to Moodle about me. Thank you very much for being a great audience this afternoon. And I hope you found that useful, and I hope you've learned a lot.